Yeah, good day, everyone. You're welcome to this presentation. It's good to teach you about what I know about research and project writing. I'm here today to to at least teach you as much as I can how to carry out research, the basic tools to use, and how to do your project writing, how to write your project. I'll give you some tips on how to make it good. So, what we're going to discuss and probably what your project should consist of should be, first of all, your abstract. Then you divide your work into various chapters, and because of your final year project, you are told to divide into 5 chapters comprising of chapter 1. And basically what chapter 1 talks about, you have to first of all introduce your topic, whatever you're trying to do, state your problem, your aims and objective. You must have done some of these in your proposal writing. So it's basically what you have written in your proposal, but more in a formal form. In this case, the purpose of why you want to study what you are studying, that's your motivation, the significance, the major contributions that your study is going to bring to the academic community. Then you justify your work, you justify the methods you're going to use. Then the scope, that is the area of study. For instance, if your study is going to just be something that will benefit Ekiti State or Nigeria or the whole world, you let us know. And then your limitations, what your study is limited to. Then chapter 2 is basically your literature review. Chapter 3 is your materials and methods. I'm going to teach you how to start writing a literature review. I know it's a very challenging part for most students. Then your chapter 4 is your results and your discussion. There is a Word file that I gave you, I sent to the group. It contains many of these. It contains all of these things, and they are well explained there, but I will try to explain it also in this presentation. Then your chapter 5 is your conclusion and recommendations that you make to the academic community. So before you begin writing at all, what do you do? That's where most of us get confused. What do? You already know your topic. You have your topic in your head. But what do you do before you start the first letter, the first word that you put on in paper? What are you supposed to do? So the first thing I normally advise us to do is that you should make a research for your topic on the net. Type your topic on the net. Sometimes you may just think of a very good topic, but maybe somebody has already done something similar to it. Not exactly what you have written down, or sometimes it's going to be something you have even written down. So in that wise, you have to think again, because we do not encourage plagiarism, that is copying somebody else's work in research. So you make a search for the topic on the net. You can use any search engine. You can use your Bing, Google search, or whatever search engine that you know how to use. You use it to search for work, for your topic. You type in your topic there. Then you should use Google Scholar. We'll do that. I will do a practical demonstration of all these things here so that you understand very well. You use a Google Scholar to look for papers. The idea of using Google Scholar is to look for papers, journal papers, conference papers that are relevant to the study that you want to undertake. Then you download from the Google Scholar. When you see related papers to your work, you now download, at least for a start. Could be more than this, should even be more than this. At least 10 relevant journals for your level. For my level, I could download like 25 or 30 at a go, as much as possible. So you download at least 10 relevant journal or conference papers. You start from there and you make sure that you read all these papers. Make sure that you read them, and by reading them, what do? You get a book. I recommend 40 Leaves, a new book. You can write the title of the book that this is, I want to use it for this research, my project research. Then you make a note for each of those papers. You make a note of what the authors did in that paper. If there is more than one author, all the authors, what did they do? You can use a third person pronoun. They did this, or he did this, or whatever. What the authors did, you write it down. They proposed, they presented, and things like that. You see an example. The methods they deployed is very important also. What method? Did they use neural networks? Did they use machine learning? Did they use Arduino? What method did they use? Did they write in Python code? What are the methods they used to achieve whatever they achieved? You see it in the paper. Most times all these things are written in the abstract of the paper. So the abstract is very important when you take a research paper. The major contribution or major contribution. What is the major contribution that the paper, the authors are trying to bring to the academic community? Then you write a snippet of the result. What result? Maybe in their result they find out that energy consumption reduced by 40%. You write it down that this is the result. Then not really compulsory. You can criticize their work. For instance, if you read through the paper and you find out this person should have used reinforcement learning instead of something like machine learning, maybe SVM, should have used reinforcement learning. Why did they use SVM? You can criticize that. If they had used this, their result will have been better, maybe from another paper you have read. So you can criticize their work. That's the idea of the being in academic community. Then future works. Most papers will suggest in their conclusion, they will suggest future works. What future work can we do from here? From there you can even have ideas of what you want to do in your own work. So you make a jot of all this for each of the paper, for each of those 10 papers. So this will give you a good background and you will know what to learn. Maybe you have some methods. Maybe you use the method that is very new. You may think, oh, I need to learn this method. For instance, you may use MATLAB in his work. Maybe you use finite element analysis and you don't know about it and it's necessary for your work. So you might start making research on how to learn it by using YouTubes and things like that to learn about that. So this is what you do before you begin writing. So in the next slide now, we'll go into the practical aspect. I will do a practical explanation of what we'll do in this slide. So we're going to do the we're going to practicalize research now. So we'll look at 4 key areas. We'll search for relevant papers, we'll read the paper, we'll use the referencing software, and then we'll insert the references into our work. So let's see how this is done. So you open your Google Scholar. It's already opened here. And then let's assume we are working on the topic titled implementation of automatic registration and queuing system for public facilities. So this is what I want to search on Google Scholar. So I have this Q model in health facility information system is a good one, and it's IEE, is a conference. I have electronic system using artificial intelligence for key system. Looks like this one is, I'm good. I told you, I said like 10 papers is okay to start with. So let's go with this one. I've already done something on this. This is a journal. So if I open it, if I'm able to download, fine. If I'm not able, I could try other methods to download. For specific methods to download papers, you could see me for that. So I have this paper. So let me see if I can get it on PDF. I've already downloaded on my system on PDF. So, but let me just open it here. Okay, I have it downloaded. So this paper can read the abstract. You could save it on your machine. So I've already saved it on the system also. So this paper is electronic system using artificial intelligence for queue management. So it's close to what I want to research on. I read the abstract, the COVID-19 pandemic, blah, 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 blah. So in this paper, like in the abstract, it will contain most of the things I told you to look for. It will contain what the authors did. For instance, in this paragraph, in this line, you have, this paper presents an electronic system developed with AI for queue management in public facilities. So this is what they did. You could also get the method here. If you don't get it, you could go into the content, scan through the content. Then the major contribution will also be here. If you read through here, you see that they said, in order to fight against the virus in this, require the respect of barrier gestures, social distance, masks, and so on. So this is a problem. This is a problem statement. So they had to devise this means by doing this work. So you get all those things. You know how to get them from this paper. So after downloading the paper, you save it on your system. Then there is what you call the save. Then I've already, let me open my desktop so that you see the paper is here, BSc projects papers. So I have the paper here. What I did was that I saved it as number 1. It's good to label your papers number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on and so forth, so that when you are doing the referencing, it will be easier for you to trace which paper is which paper. So that's what I did here. Then you have your, this is the work I have already done. So let me open it so that you see. Good. So here I already have a literature review I've started. So I said in the work of paper 1, referring to that paper so that it can easily know what I'm doing. The authors proposed an innovative electronic queue management system utilizing AI to enhance service delivery in public facilities. Their system personalized user experiences by automatically integrating relevant information, including name, facial image, age, and potential disability status into the ticketing process. If you read this and read their paper, you find out that it's different because of plagiarism. I use my own words to do this. This novel approach aims to significantly reduce queue wait times. This is the aim of their work, mitigating potential adverse health impacts on clients. The algorithm developed using, this is their method. You can see it's included here. This is the method. Python programming is deployed on Arduino UNO microcontroller, ensuring efficient operation and scalability. This is the result. The author's work demonstrated a marked improvement in queue management efficiency, paving the way for enhanced public service delivery. So I've talked a little about their work, which is making a part of my literature review. So you can see that in this little snippet, it contains what the authors did, the motivation, their major contribution, and their the method and also their results. So it contains at least the key basics. So I will do this for each of those papers, and I will write this. If I find out there is another paper in my research that is close to this one, or they did something similar, I can now say in the work of paper 1 and paper 2. So I will talk about the two. And sometimes I can even compare papers. I can start here and say the work of paper, maybe paper 5, is in line with papers and so on and so forth. So you put them like that. That's how you write good literature review by the time you read all those papers. So after this, now I want to now input what paper 1 and make a reference to it in my work. It's good to use a very good reference software. It will make it easy for you instead of you writing references by yourself. So it's made easier these days. So I have my own referencing software. I use Mendeley. So I'll go back to Mendeley. I have Mendeley, a Mendeley reference. So I open it. You have to be on the net to at least do the first login. So the Mendeley is loading. Yeah. So this is my own Mendeley, and it contains all the paper I've been researching all over my academic career. So what I'll do now is that I'm going to add that paper, because before I can use it in Microsoft Word, I have to add the paper to my library. This is my own library. So I go to add new, files from computer. I'll now go to where I have the paper already downloaded. So what Mendeley does is that it extracts every important part of that paper for you. I open, it's uploading, just 5.6 megabytes. So it's uploaded now. You can see that it has changed. So this is the paper, electronic system using AI. So I have it in mind. So it has extracted everything that you need. So you have the names of the authors. These are the names of the authors. You have it already extracted, the abstract. In case if the paper is not well extracted with the key point, with the key tags, what you do is that if you know the DOI of that paper, you can just type the DOI and you say search. So it looks for the metadata by DOI and then populates the key indicators itself. So I have this paper now in my library. So don't close this. You don't need to close this because I want to insert it into my Word. So I just minimize, open my Word. Now I go to references in my Word. I'm using Word 2019. Yeah. I open references. Takes a while. So I go to Mendeley's site here. I've already installed it on my Word, so you can just do that online. When you sign into your Word, you add it as an add-on to your Word. So you open Mendeley's site. It will now load my library directly. All my papers in the library, to load them. Good. So it has loaded the papers online. So I have the paper I want to now insert here. I have electronic system. This is the paper I want to insert. So I just click on it. It's going to insert it this way. I can make sure that I get that it's inserting as American Psychological Association 7th edition. So this is APA 7th, and this is what is needed in the university. So come back here. So insert one citation. I want to insert it here. So I want to insert it to cover this paper 1, whatever. So I'll just insert. So it's inserted. So I have in the work of Ndiaye et al. 2022, the authors proposed, and so I already have it inserted into my work. And to make it because you have to make it in the format, because this will do that one maybe some other time, because this reference is in the text, so you just have to make sure that it's in the format that is allowed. Remove this bracket, put this bracket here. Yeah, so you have it now in the work of this, the authors propose. So you already have it in your work. So after doing all this insertion in your work, you've done all the insertion. By the time you go to your references, you now come here. You say at the end of your work, you come here, you say insert bibliography. So you have it here inserted automatically in APA. So that's how this one is done. So yeah, we finish with this slide. Now we've talked about the referencing, how to do your referencing, how to do your research in practical terms in the last slide. So we'll now talk about each of the sections of your work, of your project. We're going into the project writing proper now. So we'll talk about each of those sections, and the first one we'll look at is the abstract. Now, for the abstract, it's always advisable that you write your abstract last. You should write it last because it will contain a lot of information that you may know until you have written all the other sections. And then the abstract, first of all, must contain a very brief, broad opening statement. Like I wrote for the one you did for your proposals. It's exactly the same way, except some little differences. So you must contain a very broad opening statement. For instance, you are talking about poems. The usefulness, so you can start with the usefulness of poems in a mining industry cannot be overemphasized. This is a broad statement. So it just opens up the reader that, oh, this man is talking about poems in the industry. Then it has to contain a statement of purpose of the research. This study was carried out because if you read the other abstract we used for the practical in the last slide, you find out that it contains all of these things. The statement of purpose, the reason why we are carrying out this research was carried out because we're trying to find the minimum cost that is necessary to maintain set of pumps, something like that. Then a statement to show the major contribution to the body of knowledge. The major contribution of this work is like that. A statement to describe the method used. The method you use, whether you use AI, whether you use neural networks, whether you use Arduino and things like that. What kind of method did you use? Then your brief description of results from study. What are the brief results that you have? Then future works or recommendation. This work is limited or can be carried out to improve things and things like that. So that's for the abstract, and usually it doesn't contain more than 300 words. 300 words. That's the limit. Then for your chapter 1, you have the like we wrote in, like I told you for the proposal, you have your background of the study. You give a brief definition of the subject matter and general concept. You give a brief literature review about previous works or works done in line with your work. You have to mention references. This is different from your main chapter 2, which is your literature review. This is chapter 1. So you just a brief literature review that somebody has done this kind of work in this area and this is what was found out. You close by explaining what other chapters talk about. That is after you've written all these other ones. And you now come back to closing what other chapters. You say in chapter 2 we talked about the literature review where we reviewed previous work in details and every concept in the work. In chapter 3 we talked about methods and materials and things like that. So you just briefly explain what other chapters about. So under this chapter 1, you have your problem statement. You explain the issue on ground that you want to solve. You mention the limitations of previous works done with appropriate references. All these ones will be brief. Then you have your aims and objective. What exactly do you wish to do? That is your aim. It's usually called from your project title. The aim of this work is to design and implement an automatic registration and queuing system for public facilities. Simple as that. Then the objectives. Your objectives must be fulfilled in your work. So don't write objectives that you cannot fulfill in your work. The purpose of study, your motivation. Why do you want to study, carry out this work in particular? Please, you are not going to write all these things in sections. It will all be contained in your chapter 1. You can only write, because chapter 1 is just one, then you can have this as 1.1, 1.2, and so on and so forth. So, but make sure that all these things are contained underneath. So under chapter 1, you still have your significance of study, your major contributions. What are the limitations from previous studies? You give references. This what study has been, what limitations are from other studies, and you have to give references of it. What is the major contribution you want to bring to the body of knowledge? So this shows the significance of study. Then you justify. Justification is looking at all methods used in literature. How do you justify your own method? Why is it that you are not using all the methods in the literature? What limitations are there in those methods? You justify it. Give references also. Scope of study. What area do you want to cover? Explain the limitation of your study. What area? What geographical area? What is it going to be used only in Nigeria? Like if you want to plan for solar power now, solar power is not going to be used in somewhere like USA, maybe only for maybe large farms or something. Who is going to buy your solar power in a residential house? But it's important in Nigeria because we don't have stable electricity. So what area do you want to cover in your work? Explain the limitations of your study. So we'll go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is just basically your literature review in details. So you have to give the theoretical framework to be explained further. You explain it further. What framework? What encompasses your study? What are the theory behind it? Start by analyzing previous research study in chronological order. That is from the earliest to the latest. You go to, if you, like I told you, you have to look for like 10 papers. So you look at those 10 papers. Which one was published first? You start from that one, because newer studies will bring better methods. You understand? So you analyze from previous research. Maybe from year 1976, this person did this in this line until year 2023. Then somebody who is reading will know that these are the things that have changed in this area of research. You should contain not less than 20 journal or conference papers. So that's why you should not limit yourself to 10. I just say you can start with 10. From 10, why I said you should start with 10 is because when you start with a smaller number, you read those ones, because you are going to read each of those papers in details. When you read those papers, it will transfer you from the references of those papers. You'll be able to get other papers that you can read, so that you don't just read and miss. You understand? You read the first 10. From that first 10, when you go to the reference, they will reference other papers. Maybe other papers they wrote in their work. You go to their reference, they reference other papers, so you can see more papers that are relevant in that field. So you don't just jumble papers up. Use the write-up from journals to write these chapters. From the journals to write this chapter. For each authors, explain what they did, how they did it, their results, critics, limitations, and further works. So these are all the things we explain in the practical. So you explain it and you write it chronologically. Then divide the chapter into subsections to critically look at subject matters related to your work. You have to, you can take an old good literature review that is written. For instance, if your work, for instance, we have this title, Air-Click Presentation Control System, a gesture-based approach. And you're going to talk about, definitely you're going to talk about a control system in your work. So you can have a section titled Control System. Then gestures. What are gestures? Is it hand gestures? Is it body gestures? Is it just online gestures? What kind of gestures are we talking about? You talk about it. Definitely you have to use some microcontrollers also. You talk about microcontrollers. So you look at things that are very, very necessary, that covers that subject area. You write them in that chapter. So that chapter is always a work. It's one of the major work that you will do, because that is the chapter where you will do a lot of research. Chapter 3, your materials and methods. So in this chapter, you are reporting exactly what you did. You are reporting exactly what you, if you did not do something, don't report it, because here you can easily shoot yourself in the leg. You are reporting exactly what you have done. So give a very elaborate description of your method, why and how. Give appropriate references to justify why you chose the method. So you have to explain your method. Why are you choosing this method? And you reference it in this chapter. The references in chapter 2 are always more than in chapter 3, because chapter 3 is, we look at it like it's a new job, it's what you are doing. So somebody else is supposed to reference you from this chapter. You have to describe your model in details with appropriate drawings, photos, plots, mathematical equations, and so on and so forth. In my own work, my model is mathematical equations, so that's what I did. So, but if in your own work you wrote an algorithm or whatever, definitely it will be from equations. So you have to make everything about your model clear. You describe your data and how you collected or generated the data. Did you use probability distribution, or did you collect your data through surveys? Whatever, you describe how you did it. Did you generate codes to generate data? You describe it here. You describe your code and algorithm. You explain how you apply the model to your work. So there's always something we call numerical case, whereby you now explain how your model, if it is mathematical equation, you now give an example that this is how I applied this model to my work in this case. So there you have your parameters and so on and so forth. So in chapter 4, we'll now discuss our results, and then we'll discuss our results. Research findings are presented and we feature tables, figures, relevant illustrations. So you use tables, we're engineers, we use tables, figures, and things like that to portray our research findings. The implementation of your work, explain how and what are the results. How did you implement your work? In this case, you are now talking about the results from your work. You are more particular about the results from your work. The implementation itself should be in chapter 3, you understand? But here you now explain how and what are the results from that implementation. Then you discuss the results of the test of hypothesis. This one may not be too necessary for us, but if you make a proposed hypothesis in the beginning, you must have done that in your statistics. Give hypothesis A, hypothesis B, and things like that. So you can now discuss the result of that hypothesis. Your tables or figures should be used to illustrate and summarize all numerical information. And again, another important thing is that don't repeat results. For instance, you represented a result using table. Don't go to another, maybe you say table 1.0. Don't go to another table and represent that same result, maybe in a graph. The same result. One is in table, one is in graph. It is wrong. It's either you use a table for the result and that's it. Inductive and deductive arguments on the result. You make arguments on the result. Why you think your results are publishable. Opposing arguments that highlight strong and weak points of view should be presented professionally using relevant literature cited in the literature review section. So you can now go back to the literature review section to oppose your arguments, whatever arguments you are bringing out. So your final chapter is your conclusion and recommendations. So in this chapter, you have to start by mentioning the purpose of the work, and then you explain if this purpose was achieved. For instance, you can say that in this work, we implemented an automatic registration and queuing system for public facilities. This purpose was established in the wise that we were able to produce the automatic registration for a public facility such as an health institution. So you explain that this purpose was achieved through this means. Then you now go back to, I told you that your objectives are very important. You now go back to the objectives that you stated in chapter 1 and then make sure that you are highlighting that you have achieved each of them. So if you did not achieve one of those objectives in chapter 1, please go, this is the best time for you to go and remove the objective. It's better for you to state just 2 objectives and achieve the 2 objectives than stating 4 objectives and achieving 3. Somebody else will look at them. This work is not complete. They might call you back for extra year to come and finish up your work. So it's very important that each of the objectives you achieve them. Explain how your work has contributed to the body of knowledge. This is under your major contribution. So you just explain to us how your work has contributed. You present opportunities for future work. Suggest areas which future work can address. What work do you suggest that people can do for future research? Then if you have any recommendation, you itemize them. I make following recommendations for this work. Well, recommendations for this work are made. You don't use the pronoun, the first person pronoun, I in writing projects. You use the passive voice. Recommendations for future works are made. Then you itemize them. These recommendations are made. You itemize them. Number 1, maybe a method should be improved. Number 2, things like anything you want to recommend for future works. So this is the end of this presentation. I hope I've been able to explain and to teach you how to start writing your research project. I hope you take these things to cognizance, and I pray for a very good and wonderful time to write your research, your project. Thank you very much.